Hello and welcome to another amazing video. We are going to talk about this word theme and whether or not this is something you need to be concerned about with your memoir. So, theme is a word that gets around in the writing world, and you probably have heard it, maybe even back in high school. Especially if you've been in the writing world or you've worked on fiction, this is going to be a word that you're probably very familiar with. But in case you aren't, let's jump in. I want to talk about what this is and whether it's important to you or not. So, simply put, a theme is essentially just an idea or your underlying meaning for your book. It can be really obvious, like don't judge a book by its cover, or maybe even a bit more complex, kind of getting into something really, some deeper aspect of humanity, some more gray area thing, right? It's not always going to be black and white. So there are some themes that are sometimes really obvious and some are not very clear. So when you think about a book that you've read, you might be able to pick up something like, this person, this theme was love or kindness or whatever, right? You might pick something up, but sometimes a character or an object or even a symbol can be used as imagery for a theme, kind of standing in for a larger theme. So I know there's a couple group members here that are using something like an object for their theme that's kind of tying it together, which I think is really cool. So a theme isn't typically something you state outright in your book. You're not going to be like, hey, I'm talking about love here, folks. It's usually suggested kind of quietly. It's thinly veiled, if you will. It's kind of woven through your book. So it's not necessarily something you say or have to include in a particular part of your book, but if you're struggling with this idea, think about a book you've read, and a simple trick to kind of identify the theme is just try to describe it in one word. I already gave a few really common themes: love, family, friendship, coming of age, death, survivorship, good versus evil, religion, spirituality. Those are themes. This is like a big thing, right? What is your book about? And so let's talk about whether your memoir needs a theme, whether you need to kind of think ahead on this and start writing this into your book. So the answer is probably yes, right? Your book is probably going to touch on one big topic, maybe a few big topics, but you probably, I want you to take a deep breath here, because you probably already have this base covered. You have, if you've done the work, if you've done the foundational work in the group, you probably already have this base covered. So my message to you today is don't sweat this much. Remember when we did the point of your book and we talked about what your book argues? That's essentially your theme. You argued that you could survive through all of this stuff and come out in a better place, survival. Or you argued that love is worth the trouble, right? Love. And a lot of you, I've seen kind of like a healing message. There's a lot of healing going on. So that's another theme. Those all came out to me in your point and what your book is about and what it argues and what it kind of wants to impress upon your readers. So that's your theme, that point. And when you keep that in mind from the beginning to the end of your book, during your whole writing process, your whole crafting process and editing and revising, that theme will be interwoven throughout your entire book. You're going to be focusing on, beauty or love or whatever it is. So as long as you write with that point in mind, it's going to be apparent in a good way. It's not something, again, you need to come out and say, my book is about whatever. You can, and you probably will at some point say something along that line, but it's not necessary. So to sum up, you don't necessarily need to worry about this. Most books, if not all, have some type of central theme. And you are most likely already taking care of this if you've done the foundational work. But this is one of those words in the writing community that has some discussion around it. So I wanted to do this video today to kind of set the record straight and ease your mind and make sure that you feel confident that you are writing towards delivering on that theme. And the real struggle is when you have a couple things kind of going on in your book. For example, you might, I know there's a writer in our group and she's talking about some pretty big hurdles that she was up against, some racial issues and some kind of injustice and being treated horribly based upon certain aspects of who she was or what she was doing in her life. And then there was also kind of this love component, right? So there's kind of two things going on there. You can have a couple themes. However, there should hopefully be a kind of like a unifier. There's something that connects those. You've overcome those obstacles in order to achieve this amazing relationship or whatever, right? Something like that ties them together. So if you find yourself trying to sum up your book in one word or a small phrase, and then that feels like it's leaving a part of your book out, continue assigning words or phrases to what you think your book is about. But then take a step back. I mean, if you have more than one or two, maybe three, I think there's going to be a problem. You want to make sure that your book clearly is about like one thing, one or two big things that are connected. So take a step back, ask yourself very seriously, are these themes connected? Are they related? Am I doing each theme justice? I shouldn't say each theme, but each sub-theme maybe is a better way to describe it. This can be kind of tricky to quantify. It can be kind of tricky to identify whether or not you have a couple more, couple more than one going on. So but again, the ultimate lesson here is don't sweat it too much. Most likely you have a really great message in your book that people are going to love. If you've gone through the exercises, you absolutely have clarity on this topic, and that is really it. That's really all I wanted to say about this. So if you have questions about theme, post them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think or what you're struggling with, or whether or not you have a couple themes in your books that might need some connecting, or you might not see a connection point. Let's chat about that. I'd love to hear it. So that is it for today's video. Keep writing. I want to see, how you're doing. I want to hear about how you're doing. Are you writing every day? Are you trying to dedicate some time to this every day? You guys have been so active in the group. I just love it. So keep jumping in. If that's all you're doing, that's totally fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. We're going to get through this entire month, and you're going to be so impressed with where you've ended up. So I can't wait, and I will see you tomorrow.